Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thank you for joining me today. So I'm here with a two-parter for you because it was over an hour and a half. So I thought I'm going to make it a two-parter. So what we're doing is we're using this 1950s, it's 1957 women's magazine, and I am going to show you a really quick not thinking about it, fun way to create collage background. And we're going to create lots and lots of tags and journaling cards, and decorated on the back with some of my favourite Stampin' Up stamps, and using some Stampin' Up punches here to create these tags and journaling cards. So that's part one, is getting to this stage, and then in part two, throwing everything about, I'll show you how I created these lovely flower fairy tags. So do stick around for part two. So I got over Christmas, I got oodles of brown paper packaging in lots of deliveries of Christmas presents, and so I've been using them, and I went to one of my favourite charity shops. I've got about 6 just up the road from me, and I got this 1957 Women's Illustrated magazine. It's got lots and lots of knitting patterns in it as well, but it had lots and lots of adverts, which I thought, oh, I can use those. Some quite interesting sort of images through it. I liked these. I thought I could cut these out. They'd be nice. Look at all the adverts. Just amazing. Very 1950s. And I have an idea of doing a sort of a 1950s sort of journal. I just love all these sort of pictures, and so I thought they'd make nice collages. Some of them were actually quite some things were quite fun to look at, sort of showing its age, but you know, sort of, you know, I like, you know, very popular to look at the front of a sewing pattern and sort of cut the sort of paper doll thing out. That's quite large, but actually it's not too large, and there's some littler ones as well. So I thought, oh, I could do a lot of this. It didn't have a price on, so I went up to the guy on the counter and I went, oh, there's no price on this. Other magazines did have prices. And he went, oh, 10p. 10p. I was like, yeah, I'll have that. What a shame you haven't got like 10 more. I'd have had them all. So I've been through and I've taken out some different adverts. And so I did a collage just on adverts, and I've collaged this onto some coffee dyed paper. So I just used a rip ruler and placed them on here, and stuck them down, so that's sort of ready to use. And then I decided to do a sort of collage with just random, you know, sort of like some of the articles that didn't have any adverts on, and see what I'd get. So I did that, and then I did it in a really quick way, which is what I'm going to show you. And then I backed it onto some of the brown packaging. And then I've made some tags. And I've also used some sewing pattern paper. So I've got this 25p for this one. So these are the things that people like to cut out. This isn't too old. It's not as old as some of the patterns that people use. It's not 1950s. That looks more like, I don't know, 70s, possibly 80s with those shoulders. But it's the paper that's really nice. So on this tag, I used my new ticket dies, cut out a bit with the Simplicity, which was the name of the pattern. Quite like that. Added a doily, a die cut that I'd had hanging around for ages, one of my words that I made, which I then covered in a bit of pattern paper to make it look old. That was a little scrap from another die cut that I used. Added a little square on there, got me tag. It ended up quite this is quite flimsy, so even with adding some bits on it, I felt it was too flimsy. So then I just put a bit of coffee dyed squared paper on there and added a few stamping there for that. So quite happy with that. This one I added, those are those birds I cut out. I've used those before. That's a Memories and More card, and I've used the ticket die again, but this time I ripped it off. If I can explain better. So I used the big one for this one, and then this one here that has a tear off bit. So this is a Retired Memories and More card, which is like Project Life. And so I die cut and then tore along the perforations. So the card ended about there, so I just tore off the end, and there's another little bit of that there on there. So, and I put an extra layer of the brown paper packaging on the back of that. So I did prefer how that turned out. I thought I had another one. Maybe I only did 3. I thought I did 4. I did do 4. I did. It's there. It's adding. So this one I stamped on a bit of pattern paper with the lovely Dragonfly Garden stamp. It's been under rubbish, literally. And then that's one of the butterflies that I cut out using my scan and cut from some retired DSP. Added a little bow there, some more of my words, and another one of them zigzaggy stitched things. Now this one hasn't been backed, and that's why you can see it's quite flimsy. And I prefer my tags to have a little bit more stiffness to them, so I'll probably end up putting something on the back of that. But that's what the tag is. It's just a layer of this paper and a layer of packaging paper, and I say it needs something else for it. It's too flimsy that way, so I'm gonna put a layer in between, I think, to give it a little bit of stiffness. But first of all, I'm going to show you how quickly I did, because this came out from the sheet here, and how quickly I did this collage. So quick and easy without thinking about it. That took a lot of thought there, piecing them in, getting it in together. And I thought, I wanted a quick project, not something that takes hours and hours of thought. I wanted something that was quick and easy, that anyone could do at any level. You know, it's kind of my 2nd anniversary of making junk journals. I started, so I went from the middle and just took the pages out. So that was quite nice because it's got knitting patterns. I might not use those. Might not use the knitting patterns just yet. I might save them for something else. Yeah, so I started my very first junk journal in 2020. In the January, I sort of gathered things together. Right, so we'll take this bit out. And I might use them on something else. Oh, should have just should have opened that a little bit better. Never mind, done now. yeah, so I made my first journal. It took me about 6 months with doing everything. I mean, I filmed every step of the way. So that took longer. I've made loads since and been a lot quicker, and I learnt so much, watched so many videos and learnt an awful lot. And now it is one of my favourite pastimes. It's a way I relax, and it is kind of my go-to if I'm thinking, oh, I've got half an hour, what shall I do? And it's usually, oh, let's do a dunk journal. So I am just gonna mix and match here. There we go. Oh, now I like that. I'm going to keep that. So whilst doing this, where's my nice rippy ruler? Let me just find it. It's in a box I had downstairs. There we are. That's my favourite rippy ruler. It's not a ripping ruler. It's just a metal ruler. But it's it does rip. Gives you a nice ripped edge. And the paper's really thin. So I want to keep that ambrosia. Love ambrosia rice, still love it. And it still tastes better eating out of the tin than putting it in a bowl. So I'm going to keep that. I'm just going to put that over there for now. So I don't want that to... And so as I'm going through, I'm going to salvage stuff that I might want to use later. So that's a nice recipe there. Well, I say nice. It looks absolutely gross. But I think I'm going to do a 1950s theme journal, having some of these not so appetizing recipes in it would be a good idea. This isn't really showing you how I made my collage really quickly. And I really like those big. So as I'm going through, I'm going to salvage stuff that I might actually use. So I'm having that. So now we're left with this. There, I can just take that off because I want this to be right. So got this, got my glue stick, which I retrieved from the box when I retrieved this. Gonna get sticky map there. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue stick across there and then join that on there. I know that they're round the wrong way. That I'm not bothered about. So what have I done with my ruler? There it is. So now I'm going to come across like this. See, no thought to what I'm doing. All I did was check. I didn't want any of the adverts. Stick that across there like that. Okay. And then let's stick that one on top of there. Then I'm gonna, don't want any of this, do I? Nope. what I do quite fancy there, interesting, extraordinary, amusing. I quite like those words, so I am going to nick those. I think they might make good words on a tag, so I'm putting those over there, so getting rid of those little bits. So I'm going to stick that on this, so we'll go down there a little bit and over there. So I'm just building up the foundation of my paper. And not really giving it much thought. No, I don't need, they walk together hand in hand. So I'm gonna stick this bit on here. I might get one of those little bit I had there. No, let's have a bigger bit. And then I'll put that down there. Right, cut it in half. And we'll stick that down there. And then we're going to be ready for the fun to begin. There we go. That's there like that. And I've got this bit here. I might put a little bit of that down there. And then let's put this down here. And then that other bit there on the bottom. So that's what we've got so far. It's huge, massive, bigger than my desk. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take my ruler. We'll go there where that's already ripping. I'm just going to rip down there, all the way down. Okay, and then I might stick that now on the bottom here, and I might stick it there so it levels it up. I say, yeah, I'm not giving any thought, and this is where you're going to end up, because you've got really big bits there, and collaging we want smaller bits, and this is how we're going to get our smaller bits. Doesn't matter if things overlap because it's really thin paper. So there, bits are getting smaller. So that's that bit. So now we can, one thing we can do now is we could go completely down the middle. There we go. So that's halved that big bit already, and now we could stick that down the side there. So overlap a little bit. So now we've now got bits that are much, much smaller, and you basically just carry on doing this process. So I'm gonna go down in half. Oh, that's not gripping very well there. That's because that's quite thick bits. Right, and what I'm going to do is going to take off some of these bigger bits, and I might start creating across the top there. So now I'm going in a, oh, that's from another project. I couldn't throw it away because it was too pretty. So you don't have to work on the full sheet. You can break off and work on little bits. That's like an old-fashioned Boots chemist there. That might be quite nice. Add a little bit of colour to it. And then we can go down here. So I find this quite enjoyable and quite relaxing doing this. So put that along there, and you do end up with very small bits of collage that you may never have created yourself if you'd place things on individually, but you've created it fairly quickly. A nice little mixy match of things going in all sorts of different directions. So that's quite a nice size sheet there to handle. So I'm not gonna call that done. I want that. Oh. I want that down, and I might stick that there. I'm not bothered about that bit that ripped off. So anywhere where there is a big bit, and we can go over bits like this afterwards if you've got bits that aren't stuck down. So I think that's getting there. That's too big. I might keep the boots in there, quite like that. So there's bits where it's overlapping, so you're getting some bits that are quite thick. Yeah, liking that. So that was just 2 pages from the magazine that have been mixed up really, really well there. So I'm going to do the same process with this one. I might speed this bit up for you. So there we've got our 2 collaged sheets there. We've got writing, pictures, everything going this way and that way. You could also turn it over and think, oh, I might use that side, which would have been a complete surprise and not knowing what you've created. So I quite like that side. And the same here. There's quite a lot of sort of white space. Well, it's not white space, is it? You know, like faded, vintagey looking space, which actually might be really good on a tag. I quite like that side as well. We've got some nice photos there. But I think I'm going to be interested with some of this red and some of this white space, what that might turn out like. Now, I want to back it onto some brown paper, but this and brown paper is too flimsy, so I'm going to sandwich something in between. And I've got loads and loads of Stampin' Up! graph mat that I use, and I thought I could use a bit of this rather than just throw it away. That's getting sort of to the state where I probably won't use it. It's quite a nice big sheet, so I'm thinking I could glue it onto that. That gives me another layer, and I can put the brown paper on the other side. So I am going to do that. So I am going to get that glued down. Right, so yes, having glued it down, I was sort of trying to explain what I was doing, and I thought, you silly moo, you're still on time lapse. So I'm now going where there's bits that haven't glued down. I'm going to stick them down at this stage. So I've used Collage glue, which I find adds stiffness as well, and that when you put it on and then go over with like a blown folder or any sort of spreading tool that you might have, loyalty cards work really well, that it does spread the glue out quite nicely, so you don't get lines and you get a good adhesion. So just seeing where it might need some more glue. Looking for my little mopper upper. There we go. So a little dry baby wipe. I'm not bothered if there's bits of glue on this. But I do want it to be as flat as possible, because when I cut it down into tags and journaling cards, if I happen to cut it at a join, I want to know it's stuck down, although I can stick it down afterwards. And if you're a sewer, you could sew it as well. So these edges Didn't glue that well. But I haven't sewed for ages. Not that I can actually physically get to my sewing machine right now. There's a pile of stuff on the chair at my sewing desk. The craft room needs such an overhaul. It's untrue. There we go. So that's that. Oh, a few other bits. Don't get the end of this very well at all. So I'm going to chop these down. That's not going to go in my trimmer, so I'm going to bring in my glass mat, and I'm going to do it with a knife. So I'll just chop down that bit there. Let's get it straight. Yep, that'll be nice. Sometimes it's better to wait till the glue's actually dried, Jez. But there we go. That'll do. There's some little bits that I feel need a little bit of covering up. I can do that, but I think they'll be all right once they're inked. I don't think I need to worry about that. Still some bits that need sticking down. There we are. So that's now a really nice collage sheet. So it just needs backing with brown paper, and the other sheet needs sticking on as well. So I'll get that sorted. Okay, so I'm going to leave the other one to dry before I start cutting that down. So I'm going to get some brown paper to stick on this. So I'm going to just cut it down roughly using a ruler. I think that side will be big enough for the other piece. So I'll come down there. So this is quite a good weight brown paper, so I was really excited. I had reams of it, and I have used quite a bit of it in different projects. So yeah, that's gonna stick down there quite nicely. So then we'll have a layer of magazine paper, a layer of Stampin' Up! Grid mat, and a layer of brown paper, which I think should hopefully make it stiff enough. So I'm gonna put some glue stick all the way around the edges. I don't trust glue stick 100%, which is why I add other glue. I'm going to put a bit of it on. That's enough. It's just waste really, because I put this on, but I'm going to go all the way around the edge, and I say there's quite thick amount of glue there and it will splodge out. It's not a water-based glue, this, it's a solvent-based glue, so you don't get any of that warping that you might get if you use something like a PVA, which is water-based. So I tend to steer clear of that for this sort of project. There we go. And then get that stuck down, and all the glue will spread out as I do that. It might even ooze out the sides, and at least then we know it's gone to the ends. The thing is though, you pick it up on your bone folder and then you transfer it back onto the sheet. Oh, that's what I wondered. I was thinking I must have stuck something down there. I was rubbing over the ruler. What a wally. And then you can go on the other end. So this is just packaging paper. I just folded it up. I think to do a project I did making tickets, I think I might have ironed it, but then subsequently I haven't bothered. And it hasn't really made much difference. So there. Now it's not dry yet, but I can already feel how much thicker that is. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and I will glue the other one off camera, because I'm going to do it in exactly the same way. Right, so I finished that one. I've got my brown paper on the back of that. So they're not 100% dry yet. They're still a bit more pliable, and they will get tougher as they go. But I do think I love the colour. I mean, this is, you know, the magazine, what was it, 1957? So it's like 65 years old, isn't it? That was quick maths. 75. Can't do the maths. Can't do the maths. It's a long time ago. So it'd be 43 to 2000. 43 and 22 is 65. I was right. So yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Although it's a lovely colour, I'm gonna do some more inking. Now often when you're making collages, you'll ink around the edges, but you don't need to when you're putting this together. You'd be there forever. So now you can just brush on some ink. Eagle eye of you may notice a little strip there of vintage music paper. I didn't want, there was a gap, that size gap on there, and I thought, well, I don't want to cut it there, so I happened to have that strip on my desk. I stuck it in. Worked a treat. So I'm going to start with crumb cake. It might be too light. I might change to soft suede. Got me blending brush, and going to do one at a time. And you can, if we just go over where the joins are, it will pick up the ink on the joins. Yeah, I think crumb cake's going to work nicely. I think soft suede would be a bit too much. So by brushing it over where the where the joins are, because it's got a ripped edge, it's picking up the ink, so you're getting quite a nice, so it's as if I did ink the edges before I stuck it down, and this is much quicker. I'm not bothered about the outside edge, because when I make it into whatever I'm making it into, I'll ink the outside edge. Because I'll have to be, so say I cut a card there, I'd have to ink this edge, so I may as well ink them all at the same time. So I'll do a comparison for you so you can see the effect that has made. So if we get, pop that out the way a sec. So that one's been inked all the way around and that one hasn't. So you can see that there's a definite difference there at the joins. They are showing up. I hope that's showing up on the video. I'm going to take a picture now so that on my blog post I can show the difference much better. Yeah, so I just took a picture of that, and I think if it's not showing up well on the screen, you can certainly see it in the picture. So I'm gonna do this one now, exactly the same. I'll just speed it up. Okay, so now to turn them into something. Now this could be a journal cover, which I think's quite nice. Obviously you'd add to it, but you could use it as a journal cover. It still feels a little bit, not quite as thick as I'd like. Maybe I needed thicker paper than that, or 2 layers of that underneath, but I'm sure I'm going to make it into tags and journaling cards, the things I add. But it isn't as flimsy, so it is a lot thicker, hell of a lot thicker than that one actually. So yeah, it's fine, it's done a good job. Right, so I'm going to use my guillotine to cut this up. I think I might go for somewhere in the middle. I might go for some bigger tags. Sometimes you want a bigger tag. No idea what that is. Oh, that's clearly about 6 inches, so that's what's ever left. So I quite like 6x3 size tags. So I might get some of those to be a 6x3. What have we got there? So I might do a little 2-inch tag. Might just sliver the end of that off. It's not quite straight. And then do 2 inches, because that will go in my tag topper punch, and then that is whatever that is, 2 5/8 or something. So they're nice tag shapes. Gonna do a few big ones. Should I go 3.5 inch wide? Should I be a devil? 3.5 inch wide. I think I'm just gonna neaten that side up, because that's not straight. There we go. It's quite big. So that one needs neatening up. That's now quite straight now, I think. Yeah. So what shall we do? I think I'm going to go another big one. Shall I have that as another big one? And then I've got 3 sort of oversized ones. And then they're all tags. I might do some journaling cards with these. So I might, that's about 6. Let's neaten the end up. Neaten that end up. Right. Should we do 6 by 4? That'll be a big journaling tag. Doesn't look straight, but I think it might be a bit of an optical illusion. No, I don't think it is an optical illusion, Jez. I think it's not straight. Yeah, so that's a nice big journaling card there. And I think I'm going to straighten these edges and then I'm just going to cut that in half. We'll go for about 3 there. So that's 2 nice size journaling cards there. So that is, so we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tags, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 journaling cards. So that's not bad at all. Cut the ends. This one needs my tag topper punch. Cut that. So put that in there. And that is a nice tag shape. So I cut this bit of chipboard and quite liked that as my tag. Might go that way up because I think I need to neaten the bottom of that a bit. So put that there, cut it off. Put that there, right up to the end. Cut it off. Yeah, so I'm going to go through and do all of the tags like this. So that's the tags done. The few of the bottoms needed a little bit of tidying up, I felt, so just used my little trimmer for that. So quite liking how they're looking. Going to do a bit of stamping on the backs and things. Right, there's a few bits there that needs sorting. You might find at this point that there are bits, particularly around the edges, if it's got a really small piece that might need a bit of sorting out, that might come off if it's teeny tiny, depending on how well it was stuck down, but they all seem about right. Now I like to round my corners on these. I want a small corner rounder. S for small. So that's that one. And then for the journaling cards, I'm going to, oh, I picked 2 up then. I thought, oh, that's really thick. So this likes it when I put it in one way, but not the other. Yeah, it's not liking it that well. Oh, it did it. So that's, does prefer that way. There we go. So I think it just looks a bit nicer when the corners are rounded. If like that, there's a bit there that's not quite come off. Use an emery board, or I got these sanding blocks. They're like £1 from like the range. So that's that. See, that one's got a little piece there that's doing something and nothing. And this one's got a nice little bit of decoration there, which I quite like. I quite like it sometimes when I put it on opposite corners. Don't have to put it on all 4. I like that look. So I'm going to continue to do these corners. So now that they're all done, I'm going to go round with soft suede and ink all the edges, because I just like to ink, and I'm going to ink both sides, front and back. So you don't need to watch me do that. So I'm going to get them all inked. I'll do that off camera. And the other thing I'm going to do is take my blending brush, if I do one with you, and I'm just going to come in a bit. Around the edges, just give it a little bit more colour. Might not do all of them like this, but getting a lot of grunginess. And then I'm going to get some of my favourite stamps to stamp on the back. So I do like the script here in Berry Versailles, so I like to mount it, ink it up, and then take this to the stamp pad, not the other way round. So we've got a little bit of script on there. I can put some on the other side as well. Sort of add to the background there, where there's some of these white bits. I said they would be interesting, and I think to add a little bit of script over there is quite interesting. And then the other stamp I like to use is the one that's a bit like age spotting. So this one here from Quiet Meadow. There's also typing there, which is another one that I sometimes use. As these are magazines, that might not be a bad idea. So then I just want to put some age spotting on the back of the tag. So I'm going to do that on all the tags to give them a little bit of an old age look on the back. But that's where I'll be. That's going to be then left for journaling. I put some spots on the front, and then they're just ready then for decorating. And so whilst I'm doing all the backs, I'll think about how I'm going to decorate these tags. So, excuse my hand, sore thumb. So I've been through and I've inked them all, stamped the back, stamped some. You see what I mean when I said that I thought these sort of white spaces would be interesting. Love it. So they're all done. Journaling cards done, and I sort of inked round where those punch bits are there. And we are all ready now to decorate. And I had a little thought, and I thought, oh, why don't I decorate them in a theme of a journal I'm planning on doing. Now, I did say one of my plans was a 1950s themed one, but I've gone flower fairies. So I hope you liked that process of creating these. Now go and check out part 2 and you'll see how we went from this to this. See you all in part 2.